Yeah, so stabilization, that's what I'm saying. If your feet can't stabilize, it doesn't matter how strong your upper legs or your hips are. Well, also, you've got muscles on the lower leg, the calf muscle, okay, at the rear of the lower leg. People often will train the rear of their lower legs by doing calf raises. First of all, we've got different length toes. So if you're not evenly displacing the weight off the ends of your different length 5 toes, you're damaging the rest of your body all the way up. Okay, if you've got heels under your heels on man-made shoe design, you're damaging the rest of your body all the way up, being in partial plantar flexion already, or pointing of the toes from their neutral, okay, which is the surface of the earth again, okay. The neutral is the surface of the earth. I didn't know either till I was about 24 years old, but yeah, it's just what it is, okay. It always has been and it always will be. The truth, okay, that there's only one way the human body could ever work. I wonder, you know, if people in these houses right over here are just looking out their window at me, like, what is he doing in this field? Maybe they don't even know there's a camera here, you know, maybe. They can see Dante just curled up probably on his towel, but anyway, what I'm saying is, if we can't stabilize from our feet, our hips don't matter. If we can't stabilize from our hands, our shoulders don't matter. If we can't stabilize from our jaw, our core doesn't matter. Now, seen with context, because maybe you don't have a hand or either hand. Maybe you don't have a foot or either foot. Maybe you don't have a normal jaw and it's broken or something. What I mean is, we need to put our focus on these things rather than trying to just focus on these large muscles in our body and they don't have any stabilization to them, because people blow out their knee, okay, all the time. This happens so often. People have knee injuries, okay, torn ligaments in their knees, worn out cartilage, which is the cushioning between the bones in the knees. And people are getting knee replacements and hip replacements, you know, those are very common to have happen. Elbow problems and shoulder problems are very common to have happen. But if the stabilization isn't naturally happening from the foot with a gripped arch and a foot tripod, different length toes, good nails on your toes, fully supporting the tips of them, cut relatively flat, just so we can stay in the neutral position, then it doesn't matter. If your foot can't naturally stabilize, even though it's got small muscles that maybe don't seem like they could do as much as the big muscles of your upper leg, for example, well, you can focus on the big muscles of your upper leg all you want, or the muscles in your hips area all you want, okay? You can focus on that muscle on the rear of your lower leg, the calf muscle, all you want, okay? I don't know what the technical term is for the calf muscle as of right now, but yeah. If your foot can't stabilize your body before you focus on any of those other muscles, then those other muscles don't really matter because they can't work properly, is the point. If they're not first being stabilized well by the feet. If you don't have the natural rounding to your hands, okay, hand arches, if you will, correlating with the arches in our feet, we have rounding to our hands. Different length fingers wrapping evenly around our thumb, different lengths between our fingers and our thumb, so there's only one way that the hands work, okay, yikes, there is only one way the feet work, there is only one way the hands work. 2 videos I also filmed in November of 2025 down in beautiful St. George, Utah, and placed under the main site of InTheImageClothingCompany. Yeah, if we don't have the hands working in line the only way they ever possibly could, bones are only the shape that they are and muscles only insert to bones and then pull directly in line, then it doesn't matter how much you work on the muscles up your arm to your shoulder or to your center line at your spine or sternum from your hand. If your hand's not stabilizing properly, these other muscles don't really matter. Meaning, to put focus on them, to try to strengthen them, they need support first, stabilization first. They need nails on the fingertips, okay? Like the toe tips, to fully back and support the fingertips. Cut relatively flat on the tips, and all the way to the tip is how our nails have to be. They have to, if you want your body to work. It's no opinion of mine. That's why they're there. They're support for the hand. But the hand is the shoulder is the spine is the hips, and the hips travel down to the feet. Nails on the feet, toes, okay? Nails on the toes support the feet. The feet then come up the ankles, the lower legs, the knees, the upper legs, the hips, the spine, traveling out to the shoulder, the upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, the wrist, and then the hand. Not only is the hand the shoulder, and the foot the hip, but the hand is the foot, and the foot is the hand, and the foot is the jaw, and the jaw is the foot, and the head is all of the rest of it, and on top, okay? We have to stabilize. We have to stabilize our whole bodies with a lot of little muscles that sometimes we don't even maybe know exist at all in the body, depending on who you are, okay? And you might focus on some big muscles, but it doesn't matter, not really, if they can't be stabilized by the small muscles. That's just how the body works. That's how it always has, always will work. That's the only way it can, is by stabilizing. The big muscles in themselves, they're working by stabilizing. Muscles in the front pull forward, and muscles in the rear pull backward, and we stabilize between the two, okay? Muscles pull up or muscles pull down, and we stabilize between the two. Muscles pull in or muscles pull out, and we stabilize between the two, okay? But these big muscles work in conjunction or together with all the small muscles. And imagine going through life, and some people don't have to imagine this, but anyone can imagine this, and if you are in this case, you don't have to imagine it, you already understand. With no hands and no feet, how well is your bicep gonna work? Biceps and triceps and quadriceps, hamstrings and trapezius. Each one of those muscle groups are groups of muscles. How well are those groups of muscles going to work? Your abdominals, okay? Your pectorals, pectoralis. Anyway, multiple muscles are within each of those groups that I said there. But how well is all that going to work if you don't have hands or feet at all? Well, not very well. Some people are in that state, and if you are, you are. That's why I say we have to do all we can to get as close as we can to the universal human design, because that's how it's supposed to be. That doesn't mean that you're like a worse off human being if yours isn't like that, but it's harder, and you know it, if yours isn't like that, to just physically function. That's the point. It's because the hands stabilize for the shoulders, the feet stabilize for the hips, the jaw stabilizes for the core, and then the rest of the entire body. It's all connected. But there's a lot of motion in the fingers and in the toes, in the hands and in the feet, and in the jaw, in the face of the human being, and the neck, and places we don't often look. When we think we need to work out our bodies, there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's all got to work together, or it's not going to really work. And actually, when you go to work out these large muscles of your body, you're creating an imbalance. If you're not just having the body work all together. But it's an imbalance that'll go away once you stop working out. So it's fine to just never work out at all. Just allow your body to work. There's no opinion to this. I don't have a sales pitch. I don't have clothing available under In The Image Clothing Company as of today's date yet, the 15th of February, 2026. The reason for clothing is because it's the only thing placed onto the human being. allowing the body to work is the reason for In the Image Clothing Company, our main site at least, one of our fourths. But the body only works by stabilizing. Otherwise we just fall over on Earth's gravity's pull if we can't stabilize in the center. You either lean left or you lean right, we stabilize in the center. You either lean forward or you lean back and you stabilize in the center, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. And Dante knows because it's the same for him. There's only one way the bodies of the canines work. So on In the Image Clothing Company poodles, that's a lot of what we discuss. Collars, leashes, harnesses, things like this placed onto dogs, they have to stay centered and fit the dogs properly, okay? Or the dogs get altered, as well as us human beings do, okay? If our clothing is imbalanced. There's just a lot of imbalances. This is the point. Oversized clothing